Welcome to Formation Yap, where when 5 lights go out, the hot takes are on. Cameron Cook with my bros JD Underwood and Justin Crawford, and we have a quick recap of the Spa Belgian Grand Prix.
Super quick recap. I would like to say uneventful race, but it wasn't extremely uneventful or so uneventful. So we have no rain at Spa, even though there was rain around the track. No rain around
Had a couple drops
on the track.
Take a shot at me.
Yeah,
what he's doing
that's
there. Hey, you know what?
So-
maybe we didn't have rain. Maybe I called rain, didn't have rain, but I called everything else.
No rain this
Oh,
weekend
shut up.
on the track, but lap 1, the drama starts. George Russell's out. He gets in a little collision there with a Ferrari car.
Guy, God.
FIA says that there needs to be a time penalty, obviously. We just talked about that. George says it wasn't even his fault. So we'll discuss that
George
later.
said it wasn't Lewis's fault.
Yeah, George.
No, right. That's what I meant. That's right. As far as the wing upgrades that we're talking about, Red Bull went back to their original one, but you saw a lot of progression out of Hajar today, going up 15 places. Lando Norris started back there, gained 6 positions.
Looked in form.
With the new Macarena wing, so looking good for McLaren too. I know that I said that I was kind of weary about it, but hey, that's where we're at.
I would have had a better chance of getting on the podium if I'd have called Lando. He looked great.
Yeah, he
Golly.
did. So
New power unit, but also upgraded power unit. But recap.
yeah,
Brett.
so after that, a couple Ferrari incidents throughout the entire race.
Sloppy race.
Yeah, you get a sloppy race for them. You have Lewis with Russell. You have Leclerc.
Yeah,
Leclerc
the
kind
other
of gets
guy.
in, yeah,
The
Leclerc
other guy.
gets into a kind of a tussle, and then in pit lane, you see they try to take out one of their pit guys. So
Hope he's okay.
yeah, so a couple investigations, couple penalties, whether it be time or financial penalties, and then that's about it. Kimi takes lead at lap 34, so about 3/4 of the way through the race, and then from there on, it's a race to the finish. From there, Kimi's obviously our P1 finisher. So great podium today with our Ferrari and Leclerc and Max getting on another podium.
Classic
So.
Yeah.
podium there. You
And-
had 3 big constructors get on the podium, which is great. Two of your world favorites your longtime world favorites in Charles and Max, and then of course everybody's new favorite Kimi gets another win. Huge day for him.
Good race. Yeah, Kimi started on pole and started well. He's had problems starting. And then Max took the lead in turn 2, was it? And then he held the lead for a little bit, but yeah, very shortly. Kimi come right around him. He brought Shaw with him. George started horribly, and I think we were reading after the race that Mercedes said it was the car, not him this time.
Well,
but, man,
I will correct you real quick. Toto said verbatim it was 50% the driving, 50% the car, and I do want to discuss that a little bit further, but continue, brother.
Yeah, so George, come around, and I thought, just immediate reaction, not knowing this info after, it looked like George pulled a desperate move when he flew into that corner, braked super late, dive bomb. Lewis, and that's kind of what bothered me. I have a bone to pick with the FIA right now, because that first lap, they're known to give grace on the first lap, and he went in, Lewis he had nowhere to go, and he did correct, like he made a mistake and corrected, and he bumped into George, took George out of the race, unfortunately. But also, you get a 5-second penalty for that, and then a few laps later, Shaw cut Oscar off. Like, he made contact with Oscar. And yeah, I get it. It's second, third in the championship. George is out. Okay, that's important. And Shaw and Oscar, they're not racing for that kind of driver's championship importance, but also Oscar's race was soiled after that.
Yeah.
And Shaw got no penalty. It's like, what are your requirements, or where's your line to be drawn?
There's no consistency.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I hate to be that guy, but it's not hyperbolic to say that there is a current double standard with how the FIA determines their ruling.
I don't know. Double standard. It's not a double standard. Lewis versus Shaw or Max versus Isack. It's just so inconsistent.
Overall.
Yeah, and so that's what I don't know that it's a double standard more than it is a lack of standard.
Yeah,
Right.
Sure.
Right.
So-
like, how is that not a penalty for Shaw, but it's also a 5-second penalty on the first lap? for Lewis, and I didn't agree with it.
No.
But
Well, and the memes are already going all over the place because Charles Leclerc basically gave himself away in the cool down room. He was like,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
you know,
you have
reacted.
Shaw giving himself away, like, ooh, I got away with one there.
Whoops.
And then George comes out after the race and formally says it wasn't Lewis's fault.
Right.
You know, that was a racing incident.
It was a racing incident.
Incident. It was an incident. Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. But anyway, Kimi gets off to a good start. Max made the pass, couldn't hold it. You know, that drag race down the stretch where the Mercedes and the Ferrari come around the car that, by a duo standards, has the best motor. You know, what a joke. The FIA this year is just such a, as a governing body in writing the regulations and controlling the races, they've been the biggest disappointment, even more than Aston Martin this year.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Like they're killing everything right now. And you know, like we were just talking about, you saw the grid, like the onboard feed where the throttle was full and they were showing the G forces, and it's like, man, that looks great, that's cool. What's the mile an hour? They didn't show that because it was 10, 15, 20 miles an hour slower than they were last year. I mean, they were off pace by 5 seconds from what they were last year in the middle of a race.
Well,
that's
I think
crazy.
That's wild because they were bragging about the top speed today, and I think it was like 217 or something. It's like, man, they've lost like 20 mile an hour.
You're talking about a car that is smaller, narrower, more
Theoretically,
nimble,
should be faster.
should be faster. And with this battery recharging nonsense, it's like we were saying earlier, it's like taking Patrick Mahomes fresh off of a Super Bowl win and throwing him, saying that's cool, but can you win a Super Bowl on Madden?
Or can you,
Like what is
can you win a Super Bowl throwing the ball only left-handed?
right?
Right,
Yeah,
and that's the thing is you heard. I mean, even George from the start was talking about the battery, and so it sounds like a lot of drivers today.
Well, what do you mean, George, from the start? His race was only 17 seconds long.
Well, I mean, even for the little bit of time that he was on the track, he was complaining about a battery issue, right? And it sounds like other drivers complaining about the harvesting as well at this race, and just the battery issues in general with what was going on.
But I don't know if it was as much the harvesting issue as, I think Mercedes is at the point where they've now discovered that George's car is just not performing to the standard that Kimi's is. Toto, like I said, Toto specifically said it's half driver, half engine, but they have enough data to show now at this point that for some odd reason, George is just getting bad luck. And I think we kind of all collectively as a fan base owe George an apology because the guy can't help that he just continues to have issues.
I mean, I do feel for George today, especially because when we were watching it all together, I told all of y'all, I said, look, George, like when they replayed it, especially after the fact, because like when it happened, I was like, man,
George
George,
drop at least one, especially.
yeah, especially no. When George, when he took off, like watching the race, it was obvious that I was like, man, look at what's happening to George. Like the start was just so poor. And then after the wreck and they replayed it again, we actually got to really see it. I pointed out, I was like, can you blame Lewis for this? I mean, you saw the replay when they showed the incident. Lewis blew by him. And then here comes George flying. And I'm like, man, that's George all day. I mean, he's desperate. He just flew into the corner like that. What was he thinking? And then, you know, we hear now that the battery, and we saw on the replay from the live feed, which we'll talk about that in a minute too. What a terrible performance by the broadcasters.
We'll wait.
But anyway, yeah, so George, they show him, you know, he's throwing his hands up and all you think is, you know, he's cursing Lewis Hamilton. What was he thinking? But then you see the videos later on social media and he was cursing his car. Like, I had 30% battery. So what is it? 30% battery on the first straight. And and we were just speaking about this before we started. You know, you see them scrubbing the tires and downshifting, trying to regen, so they start the race with max battery. What does that have to do with being a racing driver? Like, that's so irrelevant for get on the track, drive this car as fast as you can, and now they have to do things in the formation lap to gain an advantage because of this nonsensical. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Takes away from the driving.
Lewis Hamilton received a 5-second penalty. And seeing that 5-second penalty, I thought it was kind of a racing incident. I thought that maybe it was deserved. You can look at it and nod your head and say, okay,
he made a
correction. He had a small mistake that ended in a, you know, if there's nobody on his outside, that small mistake loses him not even a position. So it's an easily correctable mistake, and everybody lives a happy life. But because of the guy that was beside him, because they're second and third in points, we ended up with a DNF from George Russell. So yeah, okay, I'll give the FIA the benefit of the doubt, give him the penalty, and that's 5 seconds. Fast forward a few laps later, Charles Leclerc blatantly runs into Oscar Piastri, cuts him off, and the FIA came out and said, well, because Oscar wasn't going to complete the pass and his front axle wasn't even with Charles' front axle, and it was obvious he wasn't going to complete the pass, they basically said that Oscar shouldn't have been there, is what I got from the FIA. And so Shaw doesn't get a penalty, and it's like, what? Like, what is, like we said, what is the rule, the hard line in the sand? Where is it with the FIA? And it's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and I think even when we played it back while we were watching it, and we saw the Russell incident, we were kind of like, okay, but when we replayed it on Oscar Piastri and Leclerc, we thought this was like our reactions to both incidents were completely different than what the FIA saw.
Right. We watched the Lewis and George incident 2 or 3 times. We watched it, we rewound it. We watched it, we rewound it, and we watched it. And then the Shaw Oscar, we watched it once and then rewound it for when it happened. And we said, let's see. Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. Shaw just wiped Oscar out.
I think we all kind of expected the penalty on Shaw at that point, but didn't get one. And unfortunately for Lewis, fortunately for Shaw, it gave Charles a podium, and Lewis took him off because without the 5 seconds, Lewis is fighting for probably second place.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Ferrari team fighting for second place would have been a grace, because I think today they were so sloppy. The only real saving grace from them today, from Ferrari's strategy, was they caught that virtual safety car for Shaw, and they were able to pit and steal the lead for a little while. But I mean, they held pace, and I think we saw that today, and we'll talk about this in a minute. But the power unit for Lando Norris, he swapped the power unit, and he passed a lot of people. Whereas Mercedes was still on that old spec power unit, and Kimi Antonelli, he ran down Shaw, passed Shaw, and won the race by a second or two.
But he didn't run away with it.
He had trouble chasing him down, and he had trouble putting a gap. He made the pass on Shaw, and in the past, at the beginning of the year when Kimi passed for the lead, it was okay. Now that he's in open air, now that he's not in dirty air, he's gonna run.
And you even heard the radio traffic coming from Leclerc's engineers talking about how he was performing better than Kimi was
with the engine braking.
Right. And so even though you did see Kimi extending that lead just a little bit further, it's still, I mean, obviously there's still hope there. The Ferrari team is, I mean, again, we're only almost halfway through the season, and they're still developing.
Yeah.
So, I think as far as the constructors goes, it's still anybody's race for the end of the year. Yeah.
Well, it's obvious at this point that Ferrari has closed not only the metaphoric gap, but the physical pace gap.
Right.
And it remains to be seen whenever Mercedes does take that upgraded spec engine, if they do ink out a bigger gap. But in the beginning of the season, you were seeing Antonelli just blow by everybody and then have these huge gaps. I think at one point he finished the race like 9 seconds ahead of the field.
Mercedes came out swinging this year, and so maybe everybody jumped on that Mercedes train with their performance, right? But just recently, Toto and Fred kind of got into it back and forth, where Toto's kind of saying, how are they making all these adjustments with our salary cap the way that it is, right? And
they're
Fred,
burning it.
Right. And so Fred kind of laughed and said, well, when you do it, it's genius. When we do it, we're cheating, right? And ultimately pretty much saying that, hey, Toto, you spent all your money in the forefront where we're spending it throughout the year, right? And so maybe everybody jumped on that train where, hey, Mercedes is the team to beat, and Ferrari just kind of had that, that ace in their pocket, just waiting to use it, right? And maybe that's what we're seeing now.
It's different strategies.
Sloppy across the entire team today, because you could say that even if it wasn't a racing incident with Lewis, right? They're getting too close. I'm a big big believer rubbing is racing. So if it was a racing incident, it's a racing incident.
Do it for Dale, baby. Hell
But
yeah.
again,
Hell yeah, brother.
I love it.
but then you see the incident with Shaw. The pit lane incident, that is on the pit. That's not on the driver. So again, you have both drivers and the pit lane. That's across the board. Ferrari just had a sloppy race today as far as performance goes.
Yeah, and Shaw got away with it. But so Shaw's race was relatively clean. Lewis Hamilton, dealt with all the repercussions between the pits, the strategy, not the wing adjustment. And, Shaw, again, he is on the opposite end of that spectrum when it comes to the luck card. He not only didn't have the issue, didn't catch the penalty, also caught the virtual safety car, which, let's talk about McLaren and Lando and his pace. Oscar looked good until Shaw ruined his race, and he ran through the field, gained a lot of positions. Why didn't he pit on that VSC? If Lando pits during that virtual safety car, man, he could have came out fourth, maybe fifth, and he could have made an actual run, because I feel like that Mercedes power unit, man,
I think it's unquestionable. I mean, it just left you shaking your head like that was the perfect opportunity. And theoretically, he gets that pit at the VSC, and he probably finishes third, maybe second. And I mean, take nothing away from Oscar. He can't help the fact that Leclerc bumped him. But they had pace today. I think they're back. I really do.
Lando drove through the field, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's when you pass a car and you have to spend a half a lap racing a car, you're going to lose a half a second to the guy in front if he's driving in clean air or driving, just in the slipstream. So not only are you having to pass people, that takes time on the track to do that. And he drove through the field relatively quickly, which we talked about this also. The split between the top 4 teams, the top 8 drivers.
It was very apparent today.
It's been apparent all year. And like we knew that, and me and you were talking about this yesterday. If you start from the pit lane or from the back of the pack and you're a top 4 team driver, you're probably going to finish 8th. Like it's, we were 20 seconds ahead of 9th place today.
Yeah.
Like the split is very apparent. But at the end of the day, Lando ran through them quickly, and he was making pace. And if it wasn't for the fact that he had to pit late, he still would have been in that top 4, and it wouldn't have been, misplaced.
No.
Like kind of Isack made his way up to the top, and he was on a different pit strategy. And you have those kind of races where guys show up at the end of the race. Pierre Gasly won a race, his only race victory off of a crazy strategy that played out. George Russell at Spa 2 years ago pitted once and maintained the lead. Those things happen in F1, but that wouldn't have been a thing for Lando Norris running a different strategy. If he would have pitted when he had the opportunity, he could have improved his race.
Absolutely.
And now he did. He was running a different strategy, ran the hards, and pitted late and put on mediums to make up some time. But the time he made up was nothing compared to what he could have if he would have pitted when Shaw and them pitted. Mm-hmm. Like it turned out to be a Ferrari bad strategy day, but for McLaren as well, it wasn't a great race. And Red Bull did well. Mercedes did really good because they only had one driver to focus on after a half of a mile for George Russell, which, we're Kimi fans here and we like to give George a hard time, but you can't help but feel for the guy right now. He was 60 points back in the championship, and he made a run in these last few races. It's been, Kimi's losing the lead. Kimi was losing the lead because George was putting in the work.
Yeah.
George has been doing well, and nobody gives him the flowers for that. And it's right back to 50 points over George right now.
Yeah.
Like Kimi's right back to where he was 3 weeks ago.
If you take away the DNFs, like George Russell has finished top 4 in almost every race but the Monaco race, which also wasn't his fault because he got the pit lane penalties that he didn't deserve.
And who ruined that?
The FIA. We're beating a dead horse here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else that's not the FIA's problem, but is Formula One's problem. And that was the poor race engineering, broadcast engineering that Apple TV seems to be continuing to flub on.
That's going to be the F1 broadcast. They broadcast it to Sky Sports, other people, but doesn't change the fact that it was terrible.
Golly, there's so many missed opportunities. And there was one good shot and that I commented on that they had back from Eau Rouge that was looking up towards the peak of the hill, and you could see the cars going. I think they go like 180, 190 up that hill, and that was a great shot.
Right.
But other than that one shot, we had so many missed opportunities, and the biggest was the battle between Arvid and Liam.
The VCarb Alpine battles all race. You can go watch the race again from any of those 4 cars on boards and have a more entertaining race than what the F1 broadcast showed you. Because as soon as somebody got into some action, they were like, look at Fernando Alonso. Remember this guy from 10 years ago? He's driving really slow right now. Can't you tell? It was just the whole broadcast, man. But that being said, the whole broadcast with, what you said, the one good shot they had, we've said this for weeks. We've always been, saying this, that they need more shots showing the actual speed of F1 cars, because you can turn it on and watch them run around a track all day, but when you actually get that concept of reality where they just blow by you and you're like, oh wow, that last angle from the last lap, they were coming around the corner through Eau Rouge like this, and then you just see that one shot where 15 cars go through it in 3.5 seconds.
Right.
It's a different shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the VCarb Alpine battle, Justin, tell us a little bit about that.
Don't ask me about it.
Because you didn't get to see it.
Nobody did. None of us did. Well, we did get to see a little of it in a rectangle on the side of the grid.
And no replay.
We didn't even get a replay.
Who was that? Who was the announcer?
It was
Forget, we were watching
Brundle.
Sky. It was Brundle? Yeah, I don't remember what we watched the broadcast on today, but he was like, man, we got to get a replay of that.
And then nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Here's Charles Leclerc driving by himself, 2 seconds behind Kimi and 7 seconds ahead of Max.
So you had this great battle between Arvid and Liam, and then out of nowhere, Colapinto just shoots 3 wide. I mean, it would have been an incredible shot had we seen any of it. And all we got was this little 2x2 on the side of the screen.
And even worse, they had a forewarning. Like 10 laps before, Arvid and Liam made contact and ran off the track, and we didn't get a replay.
Right. And another thing, we didn't get a penalty or anything out of that.
Nothing. Didn't hear nothing about it.
You had actual contact with a driver that went completely off the track, and you got nothing.
Right. And instead, we got to see...
So inconsistent.
We got to see a picture of Lando Norris. Man, he's done great, by himself. Like, I don't know if you look at the actual on-track battles with the little screen compared to the big screen today, it had to be about equal, because the race was relatively, besides lap 1, everything went crazy. There wasn't a whole lot of passing that was on camera. And there was a lot of passing. Lando Norris passed everybody on the track.
That's right.
Arvid Lindblad somehow managed to get past everybody, but how many passes did you see Arvid do?
Not many.
Sorry, not Arvid.
Yeah, you were talking about
Isack Hadjar.
Well,
Isack
and
Hadjar.
that's what I was saying earlier today. If you're just watching the race, it seemed just so uneventful.
Yeah.
There was a lot. There was a bit of contact. There was a good bit of contact this race. There was a lot of passing in this race. You didn't see any of it on the broadcast, though.
Right.
They've got to do a better job of looking for opportunities at overtakes. They know when they're going to happen.
Well, I mean, even if it doesn't, I'll give you the grace, man. Show me the replay. Show me the replay. You don't need to show me 7 minutes straight of Charles Leclerc driving around by himself.
No.
You can easily go back and show me what just happened.
That's right.
And that's one thing that I think that they're lacking in the broadcast.
And it would be so simple too. Just think about it, just in completely logistical terms. They have the seconds between each driver. Mm-hmm. They know what the distance is. If there's a gap under half a second, they should be cutting to that driver.
Exactly. Even if they don't make a move. Like, I don't care if you show me 12th and 13th racing for a position, and I'm like, man, what's happening with Kimi and Shaw? If it's, Kimi's got 1.8 on Shaw, I don't need to see Kimi driving around.
Happening.
I don't need to see him leading the race. That's cool. I love him to death. But show me somebody that's actually going to put some action on screen.
And I think, when you want to say the half a second, if we want to start broadcasting that, I'll agree with you on the half a second. But when you have these cars that are within that 1 second time frame, they get when they pass that overtake mode or that overtake zone, they get that opportunity for a whole lap.
Fair.
So when you do have anybody who's outside, now I'm not saying that somebody can't just come through, you get a mistake and you make a good pass, right? Those things can always happen. But when you have the opportunity, especially with these cars, the way that they're running on 50% electric, when there is that, when Max can just press a button and suddenly he has more horsepower, right? That's what we need to be focusing on. We need to be focusing on these passes, right? Make it more exciting for the viewers, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And if you got software that, last week at Silverstone automatically throws out a safety car and turns the safety car off,
gosh.
you can't tell me they don't have software that shows a light next to each driver. This guy's got to overtake this lap, right? Show me the camera there. I don't care if you cut it into 4 screens. If 4 of them got it, let me see all of them.
Yeah.
I would rather see all of them and have to focus on who's doing what rather than watch a replay in a screen this big.
Absolutely.
And it just... But
take some cues from the NFL.
That's what I was about to say. You have the NFL Sunday ticket, and you can, yeah.
It would be so easy.
Well,
they got it. They've got to make a better effort. That's all I'm saying.
Take some cues from NASCAR. Okay,
Sure.
They're way more rudimentary in their sport as far as the cars themselves. But if you show, an alien drops from outer space and watches 2 races, you show them a Formula One race and you show them a NASCAR race, they're going to go, that Chevy Camaro sure is quick, because they have the angles where they're showing the speed and they're showing the action on track. Then you watch an F1 race, and it's, now granted, much respect to the guys that are doing what they're told, which is to catch that car at the perfect angles, not miss anything, but you're doing a too good of a job, right? They look like they're going, what did your son say? He told me, he said, I thought he was going 50 miles an hour through that corner, but he was like, I was like, yeah, buddy, they're doing 120, 125. Yeah, so they do what they need to do. You can read the sponsors, and it does everything it needs to do. Shows you everything in detail. But man, just give me some raw footage. Show me something that they're going fast. Show me some overtakes. Show me some close to contact.
Or go to onboard cameras more often. Or go to the side of the car cameras more often. Like, just give us some variety without having to go searching for it through the F1 app.
Even like we were just talking about, the best footage on the track today was that small window of Liam's onboard camera.
Yeah.
Like, show me that full screen.
Come on, man. Let's get off of
Yeah.
We're off that topic.
We're ranting about the FIA
let's
or
talk
the broadcast.
Liam versus Arvid. You go, Justin.
Absolutely. So I know that I picked Liam for the P7 finish, but it was a bittersweet thing. I lost out on the points for that, but I was excited to see Arvid finish ahead of Liam finally.
Good for him.
Now again, it is because he had the modifications to his vehicle, right?
We're not calling them upgrades.
We're not
anymore.
calling them upgrades. The modifications to his vehicle, right? And so, but you did see the kid drive exceptionally well today. And
All weekend.
So this is his second finish of the season over his teammate. I was super pumped about that. I've been waiting for it. I hope to see it a lot more going forward.
Well, he was driving a rocket ship, and Liam inherited his dad's car when he first started driving.
That's
me and Cam have been going out about this all weekend. Liam and Arvid and the VCarb, the sugar-free Red Bull team, had a deal last week somehow
At Silverstone.
Where whoever qualified the best got the upgrades, the modifications, we're calling them, for this weekend. And Cam thinks it's unfair that Arvid got him, Liam didn't. I'm on the fence. I'm kind of neutral. I'm a Mercedes fan, so what you guys are doing in the midfield is irrelevant. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, we just talked about how we need more midfield on camera.
But anyway, I do see where Cam's coming from, but also in like why we call them modifications and not upgrades is because they're not guaranteed to work.
Sure.
Upgrades is the term. They got the upgrades this week. Those upgrades could be downgrades if the guys didn't do what they needed to do. Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to Liam and Arvid, one got it, the other didn't. Cam thinks it's unfair that Arvid got him. I think, my opinion, is that they had an agreement before qualifying started. They both knew what they needed to do, and one of them did, one of them didn't. Mm-hmm. And tell me why you think that Liam deserved them over Arvid.
So I'm approaching this purely from a strictly logistical team aspect. So there are millions of dollars that are riding.
Correct. And I would say not even logistical, logical.
Yes, there are millions of dollars that are riding on constructors and drivers' championships. The way that you finish in that standing greatly affects your team's purse. So my take on it is that you have Liam Lawson, who is at the top of the midfield in in drivers' standings, it only makes sense to give the higher point driver the upgrade if there's a potential of getting him in that top 5 grid position, or him potentially getting on the podium like I had hoped for. Nothing against Arvid. He's done exceptional this year so far.
For a rookie.
For a rookie. And VCarb overall has done excellent. This is their best performance to date.
Well,
as a team.
No, Liam finished outside the points today.
I'm talking about overall.
In the year.
The constructors championship. Right. This is their best position that they've had historically. So I just feel like it would have been the right thing to do to give the driver who's got more experience, who's got more points, give him the upgrade, potentially give yourself a chance to get on the podium. That's all I'm saying.
And you're right. I mean, more points. Going into this race, he had almost double what Arvid had. He has performed way better than Arvid all year. And again, I'm not saying Arvid's, no shade thrown at Arvid. Top of the midfield, they weren't, and they tied Alpine today. I know you love these VCarb guys, and you wasted no time to say the top of the midfield. You caught that, Justin? But anyway, Liam has been that guy, so to speak, for the sugar-free guys. And after last weekend, it's a no-brainer to give Liam the upgrades, right? But I kind of look at it as they know they're the junior team. They know they're the feeder team. Everybody, if you watch their social media accounts, they're having fun.
They're enjoying life.
They're enjoying it, and I think this was more of a, hey, neither one, and this is just me, I think they said, we don't have the capability of bringing both cars upgrades next weekend, so neither one of y'all are going to get it. We can maybe only do one, and they probably said, you can do one. I'll race you to the lunch line for it, right? And I think that's kind of what happened, and it ended up with if y'all are cool with it, we're cool with it.
Sure.
Arvid took the upgrades. There's also been some drama behind the scenes. Maybe that was VCarb's way of saying, maybe this will lighten the load. Maybe this will bring the camaraderie back.
Sure.
But if that was the case, I can tell you that it blew up in their face by that small screen we got to see.
Absolutely.
Because they were running into each other, and it was pandemonium on the track.
Intense.
So I'm very curious to see next week when Liam gets those upgrades if they will do the same thing. And I did use the word upgrade because obviously Arvid had some performance in that car. And again, like we said earlier, you get those modifications. Arvid could have got a new car today and been way worse. Then we got a F1 guys are very good at what they do. The engineers have run data, so there's a 99% chance they're going to be upgrades and not downgrade modifications. But that's kind of where I'm at. My standpoint is Cam's like, Liam definitely deserved them, and I'm like, well, maybe they needed some more data. Maybe Arvid was the guy that needed to run them to make sure they're upgrades and not just modifications. But at the end of the day, you're talking about a guaranteed 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th, top of the midfield. There's no way what they're going to do unless they put a 200 shot of nitrous on that car.
Put some rocket boosters on the side.
They're not going to finish in the top 5. Back to your hot take this week. Super hot to me because
it was hot.
The split between the midfield and the top of the field, the top 4 right now, is just first year regulations. I'm hoping they can figure out how to mend that gap, but it's no fun watching 8 cars finish a half a minute ahead of the rest of the field, right?
Yeah.
So with the VCarbs, at the end of the day, we're talking about 5th and 6th in championship standings. And from a Williams or a Haas standpoint, this would have never happened, right? This would have been detrimental to give Ali or Esteban these upgrades, or Carlos or Albon these upgrades. But VCarb has the big brother that's the focus of the team.
That's right.
And they have the grace of being able to say, well, throw a couple names in the hat and see which one we pull out. And they're able to do that. So at the end of the day, what's important is it seemed like the upgrades worked.
Good for them.
And Arvid had pace all weekend, even in qualifying.
He looked great in qualifying.
So did Isack. Isack and Arvid both. The Red Bull Juniors.
Let's talk about Isack, because Isack had the race. In my opinion, he deserved driver of the day.
Yeah.
Had the race of the day. And man, I don't necessarily think I like Isack, but he's growing on me. He's growing on me. I mean, he was the team player this weekend. Let's be real.
Yeah, I like him. I mean, I think whenever I started watching, I know you guys were on the Max Verstappen train, and I was just like, man, who is this guy? He's, kind of a turd.
Max or Isack?
But he grew on me. No, I'm talking about Max, but he grew on me, right? And I think I'm kind of in the position you guys were in with Max, where, man, I like Isack. He's a young kid. Again, like I said last week, he's full of confidence, right? And so after today's events specifically, but all through the weekend, man, I think he's growing that confidence, right? And we had talked a little bit before we turned the cameras on about what does he feel with the team? You saw the first slingshot in qualification, and then you saw the second one where he's pretty much telling the engineers, hey, leave me alone.
I got it.
I think he does have that confidence, and in my opinion, and I know it may differ, but in my opinion, maybe he gets frustrated at knowing his capabilities or having faith in his capabilities.
Fair.
And not feeling that some of the team doesn't have as much confidence in him. But look, he's doing great things. He proved it today. You give him a car and the kid can drive it. So, I'm on the Isack Hadjar train, so I'll ride that for a little bit.
So he started in 21st because of the big grid penalty for the engine upgrades and finished sixth, 15 places. Like, that's Max Verstappen-esque, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I'm not comparing the two, but like traditionally, that's something.
Hadjar.
He's got his own song, bro. Don't give him his credit. He's got his own song. But yeah, I mean, that was Verstappen-esque. I mean, I expected nothing of the sort. I mean, yeah, I expected him to get in the points. I mean, get you 2 points maybe. I mean,
he's going to finish eighth.
He's going to finish eighth. But yeah, man, that was awesome, brother. Good for him.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic of him, and I know we were speaking of strategy a little bit earlier, but he also had a bit of a strategy thing with his tires. He started out with the hards. He took the advantage to put mediums on for a lap or so, and then go right back to it. So
yeah, he ran under the safety car, took advantage of that. Mediums one lap, put his hards back on, and went the whole race. And I'll play devil's advocate here with Isack. I still don't like his attitude. I still don't like how hot-headed he is. But again, like you just said, Justin, you saw in qualifying the first time he tried to give Max a tow, because in qualifying in Q3, he didn't even make a time, really. Right. He had no time that was even speakable because he knew he was starting at the back.
Yep,
so his only job was to help Max. He goes out the first time, and they're like, Max coming, blah, blah, blah. The whole time they're in his ear, jawing. And then they screwed it up, didn't do it correctly. And then the second time they started talking, as soon as they started talking, he said, let me do it. And I'm watching it, and I'm going,
look at this guy.
This guy, man. And then as soon as he says, shut up, I got this under control, I'm like, okay, let's see it. Max Verstappen comes on and says, hey, that was perfect execution. Max on his rate, that was perfect execution.
So let me ask you guys, and with that, and with all of those things happening the way they are, if you were in his shoes, do you think once you exited your vehicle, you'd be walking with your feet a little bit wider?
Oh, I think that Isack gets out that car and he walks up to the team and he's like, see, I told you. Now we're at the point where, is this the team needs to back down a little bit, or does the team need to reel Isack a little back down to earth? At this point, after this weekend, it's hard to tell a guy to come back down to earth, because you don't tell Kimi Antonelli to come back down to earth.
No.
I mean, all he's done is great things. But again, two totally different personalities. You got Isack yelling on the radio, still doing well. You got Kimi throwing pies in people's faces, which, by the way, shout out Marco Antonelli. Happy birthday. What a great birthday weekend. Kimi takes pole, takes the win. What more could you want, except maybe a clean shirt? But that was fun to see. Good for him. As a father, he's having the best year of his life so far. And with his son doing what he's doing. And hopefully, I called this before this weekend started. Kimi from the pole. Kimi wins a race. we're throwing pies in people's faces, and we're laughing in the garage.
Heck
so what more can you say, man?
And you got how many points? You get 4 or 5 points
I
this
got
week?
5 points this weekend.
I only got 1.
Hybrid just brought home the goose egg, man.
Well, I did make a phone call, and whoever wins this challenge we're having, King Philippe from Belgium is going to give you the trophy, or me the trophy, just like he did Kimi today. How do you feel about that? The King of Belgium hand delivering the trophy to the winner today.
He was fanboying on Kimi Antonelli, and it was a little bit cringy.
No, you know what was cringy? Yeah, go ahead.
Was while he's doing that, you see Max's face just completely lit up.
Max is fanboying him. Yeah, that was awesome to see.
Max is trying to pick his jaw up off the floor, and the King just completely doesn't even acknowledge him. And even while he's trying to talk to the King's like, "All right, cool, Kimi, how are you?"
So is it very hard?
Today wasn't so.
The temperature helped.
Oh, no.
Also today was a lot cooler, so it was nice actually.
It's good.
You seem very fresh, but
That's what we tell everyone.
Grazie ragazzi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great, man. There's levels to this stuff, right?
Gosh.
And you see the King wants to talk to the winner of the Grand Prix. Max is, I'm half Belgium. I was born here, right?
The fans like me better.
Right, and he's like, "Sir, can I see your bracelet? Are you supposed to be here right now?"
Where's your paddock pass?
Right. I love to see it, man. But how cool was that? The King of Belgium himself, in the cool down room and at the ceremony. I thought that was really neat.
And then Kimi, the face that he made after the podium ceremony, he's pouring what's left of the champagne on his head, and he's soaking it up. I think Kimi Antonelli now understands where he's at on the grid. I think he is totally bought in. He knows he's the best, and I'm going to show it.
And I think a similar line of thinking, but he won a race last year. He was a rookie, different specs, different regulations. It was a McLaren Red Bull show. He did the best he could do in a Mercedes. George won a race, maybe 2. No, he won a race last year, I think. Kimi was nowhere to be found when it comes to actually winning a race. He finished on the podium a couple times, but he was never really in contention for a victory. They start the season, and the Mercedes car is that much better. And I think being young, nothing to do with his mindset or personality, but being 19 years old, he's all new to everything. George wins the first race, he finishes second. He goes on to win the next 5. The first one, you could tell he soaked it in. When he took the pole in China, the tire he got for winning pole he was about to cry.
Oh, he did cry.
And then he wins the race, and it was the greatest day of his life. For the next month and a half, it's just the Kimi Antonelli show, and it kind of got to where he's expecting that. Mm-hmm. And then he had 3 bad weeks or a couple off weeks, so call it a month and a half, 2 months of
not
2
great
DNFs
results.
or 2 finishes outside the points and a third place podium, and now he's back on top. And I think he was like, I appreciate this win more.
That's fair.
Because I understand now that it's not going to be an every week thing. It's not just I have the best car. I had to earn it.
Every win,
and every race, every spot, the race the day that he won, he had to work for it. Shaw did not go away. He had to chase him down. Yep. Max took the lead on the first lap. Like, this wasn't a Mercedes spec car. This wasn't Monaco. Okay,
right.
This wasn't Monaco where he started in first and didn't even look in his mirrors. It was just a Sunday cruise for him. That was not today. And he won that race, and he earned that race.
He appreciated it more.
And I think that moving forward, it's going to be a better season for Kimi Antonelli, because I think his head's a little bit more in the game as far as this is F1, and you have to work for this. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that he's been given everything. The kid's just a natural born talent, and it seems like, I should say. And now he understands that, like you said, the look of exasperation on his face afterwards was, okay, I like where I'm at, and I want to be here next week.
Well, that's right. Given his age, I think the way that he performs after not performing so well says a lot about his character and the future that he'll have in the sport. When he had his DNF earlier in the season, he came back and he got a podium that very next week, took that 3rd place, right? And then he goes back. After that, he's got that 15th place finish last weekend, and he comes back and he gets he gets a P1 finish.
It controlled the weekend.
So he's not letting these things get to him, right? Mm-hmm. And look again, we can talk about reliability issues and things like that, but George had his DNF, and obviously this is his second DNF of the season, so I'd like to see how he finishes next week, right?
Yeah.
But the last time he had a DNF, he came back the following week and he finished outside the points in 12th. So not to say that, that is George's fault there, but I think it does go to the credit of Kimi Antonelli to say that he's got a great head on his shoulders. He doesn't let these things. And look, if George comes back next week and he's back on the podium, hey, maybe that 12th place was just a, kind of a rough patch for him.
Yep.
But yeah, I think being a second year in there at 19 years old when there's so much pressure on him, Kimi's proven that his attitude is not going to get him down.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I think that in George's defense and just where we're at in the state of the sport, I think that was easier to do early in the season to bounce back with a P1, a P3, and then a DNF, and then another P3. I think we're seeing the competition tighten up, and I think that now it's going to be tougher to have a DNF and then come back next week and be right back on a P1, P2 finish. I think that Ferrari is here. Ferrari is already been here for a couple weeks, and what I saw out of Lando Norris today, if he would have started in third where he qualified, I don't know if Kimi wins the race.
That's right.
That man had pace, and Lando is a defending champion, and he drove the wheels off that car today. And then Shaw drove one of the wheels off of Oscar's car, but Oscar did well today too with the damaged car, still finishing fourth. So I think, or fifth.
Yeah.
We did get word during the podcast that Lewis Hamilton did receive a penalty, but it's going to be financial. It's not going to be to a grid place finish. So if it was a 5-second penalty, Oscar would have finished fourth, and with a beat up car. So what does that tell you? And I think McLaren is here. I think Ferrari is here. I think Mercedes, the gap they had in China and Japan is
it's dwindling.
It's disappeared. That gap has disappeared. There's still the top of the grid, but not by 6-7 seconds.
And better for the sport. Let's be real.
Of course, yeah, 100%.
I really think
it's just not better for my man Kimi.
Well, I'm just it excites me, assuming that the FIA starts to be a little bit more fair and maybe the engines start performing, as we expect them to. It's going to make for an exciting post-summer race season. And, I mean, we could potentially see 2 or 3 guys in battling for that championship down to the wire like we did last year. So I'm excited. I think there's a lot to be seen. But let's give a little quick recap on our points.
Yeah, so where we're sitting right now, Kimi, he had a 60-point lead, and then he had these 3 bad races. And everybody was, oh man, it went from 60 to 25. George is back in it. George had a good run. Lewis was chasing him down. Everything's good. Well, with Lewis's problems today and Kimi and just showing out and sprinkling the George DNF lap 1, we're almost right back to where we started, guys. A month ago. So Kimi right now has a 45-point lead over Lewis, 50 points over George. He's 78 over Charles and 101 points over the defending champion, Lando Norris. I get it, new car, etc., but this man won a championship last year, and he is 101 points back right now. That's almost double the points that Kimi has over Lando.
But you had Max Verstappen almost in the same position last year before the summer break, so we'll see what happens.
Anything's possible.
It's still open.
Yeah, it's still open, and Max, I think, is 1 point behind Oscar right now. I think they're
91 and 92.
Yep. So, but man, what a crazy year! If you'd have told me Max Verstappen would have 92 points, and that was the difference. He was 101 points back last year, but he didn't have 92.
No.
It's been a wild year, and constructors, Mercedes is still safely ahead, Ferrari second, but. Yeah, I'm looking forward to what's going to happen next week. Everything we've talked about today, I just want y'all to remember, we're talking about next week who's going to finish 3rd and 4th. because Aston Martin's bringing that upgrade package. So we're going to be debating for a while who's going to finish first or in second. Is it going to be Nando and Lance or Lance and Nando? And then we can worry about who finishes third later.
Well,
Probably
I'm going to tell you, Lance is going to have to ruin his reputation of not finishing the race if they're going to bring this package.
It's a sacrifice I think he's willing to make. But yeah, what do you think about Fernando Alonso's burnouts at the end of the race? Is that frustration? Is it, I'm so happy to get out of this car? What is the emotions going through his head?
He did say, I think on Thursday or Friday, he's like, they asked him, what do you expect this week? And he's like, I hope I just get home okay so I can watch the World Cup.
Yeah, right. Imagine being a Formula One driver and that's what you have to look forward to, because I believe that was genuine. I don't think that was him just talking nonsense. I think he really just was like, he told his wife or his girlfriend, sorry, I got to work Sunday. I got to work Sunday morning. It's going to suck, but we're going to be able to watch the race, I promise. Or I'm sorry, the World Cup. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it next week. Hungary's going to be a good race. We'll be here around Thursday or so to upload a new video for our predictions for that race. I think Jordan's going to be back, so I'm excited for that.
Yay.
Can't wait to see old Jay on the podcast.
Are we gonna have 4 chairs?
I just figured he could
sit on your lap.
Oh man. Well, if y'all have anything y'all want to say, disagreements, y'all love what we said, let us know. Like, subscribe, drop in the comments, whatever you want to do. Until then, we're going to sit around, we're going to keep on yapping.